Hello and welcome to the Basic RMP Use chapter of the RMP demonstration series. This video will show how to create an account, log in, add an Intwine Connect gateway, and go over basic features of the My Gateways and Gateway Details page. Let's get started by going over how to create an account. First, you'll navigate to rmp.intwineconnect.com, which I've done here in my browser, and it'll take you to the login page. If you already have an account, you can just enter in your email and password and click login. But for your first time, you'll need to click the sign up link. Here, you'll need to enter in your first name, last name, email address, confirm your email address, enter in a password, and confirm the password. Also, an important note is that the password must be at least 12 characters long and contain at least one uppercase, lowercase, and numeric character. So know that before you try a too simple password. Finally, you'll want to click on the Intwine Customer Agreement link to read what you agree to in the terms, and then check the box to indicate that, and then you'll be able to click Sign Up. So before this demo, I created an account already, so I will just sign in using my existing credentials here. So my email address and my password, and then click Login. Okay, so once you click Login, this will take you to the initial landing page. The first thing that's displayed is this My Gateways page. And when you initially log in, it will be completely blank. So before you can get started, you'll need to add an ICG by clicking this green button with a plus sign. And this splash screen will give you some instructions on how to do so. There's two ways you can do it. First is manually. You can enter in the IGU ID, which stands for the Intwine Globally Unique Identifier. And that will be found on the bottom sticker of the device near the barcode, and that's shown here in this picture. That's just a 16-character string that we use to identify the specific device and associate it with your account. Alternatively, if you don't want to type all that in, you can just choose the CSV or Excel file that we will have sent to you that includes that information, and then upload that, and that will associate potentially a large list of gateways to your account. For this particular one, I've already included all the gateways I need, so I won't do any of that. But what you would do is enter in and click Submit, or choose a file and then click Submit here. All right, moving along to the My Gateways page. Once you've added your gateways, they will show up in this My Gateways table. And so it shows in each row here some important information about each device, including its name, what group it's in, connection state, the signal strength, data usage for the current billing cycle, the firmware version running on the device, also the last time that the device communicated with the RMP, and finally a column that gives some actions that you can use. It's important to note you can sort by any of the columns here. So name would do it alphabetically, also for group by alphabetically. You can also sort by connection state and data usage, or any of the fields. And another good tool for managing your gateways is to use this quick search field at the top right hand corner, and you can use that to filter to only show things that you type in here. So for example, if I only wanted to see firmware version 1.7.8, it would only show those particular devices, or I could quickly change that to 1.7.10 pretty easily. And you can also do that for any of the groups or names as well. So group 1 only shows me group 1 or group 2. The next thing that we can look at is you can quickly change some things from this view. If you click on this pencil icon under Actions to quickly edit, and here you can quickly modify the device nickname, and then whenever you make a change you'll want to save it. Also, what you can do is you can quickly move this gateway into another group that you've previously created. So here I'll change it to group 2, and just like that, it's changed. The last thing that we want to look at in this page is the quick select feature. So if you kind of move your icon over, you'll see this little box pop up, I think when you're over the name column. And so when you click on that, it brings up the quick select interface. And what you can do with this is click on a number of different devices on your page and then do any of these actions in the top right hand corner. Those actions include change group, modify what the LEDs are displaying. You can send a reboot to all the selected gateways, update the firmware of all of them, or sync all of their notifications with the instructions of the group. So that can be a pretty useful tool. And then you can either uncheck them or click this back button to get out of that quick select interface. Finally, if you want to see some more details about any particular device, you can either double click on the row or click on the gear icon under this actions column to drill down into the device details page. So we'll do that right now. All right, so here is the more detailed device page. And so it has 5 tabs along the top: System Info, Network Status, Cellular, Tools, and Notifications. And so we'll go through all of those. But the first is the System Info page. And so like we showed before, it will display the name, also a description that you can modify. So you can say a description. And then whenever you make a change like that, you'll want to click the Save button here. Also displayed is the IGUID, which we talked about earlier. So that's just unique to this device, and whenever you work with support or anything like that, you'll want to provide them with this IGUID value. Normally you can just give them the first few characters and they'll be able to look it up. Also unique to the device is the MAC ID, and you can also display here what group the device is in. This next field, the sync with group, is a feature where when you set up a group, you can set up notifications for that group, and whenever you move the gateway into that group, it will pick up all of those changes, the settings of the group. But if you don't want that, if you want to have the device retain whatever settings you set initially, you can just uncheck this Enable Sync button. It's sort of a more advanced feature, but it's there if you need it. Next, the firmware version is displayed. And so here it's showing 1.7.10. That's the latest version at the time of this recording. And it's also going to give you some more detailed information about when that image was first developed. All right, we'll move along to the next tab here, which is the network status. And the network status gives you a good overview of how the network is configured for the router, and it will also tell you a little bit about what devices are currently connected. So here, the interfaces box, it shows the WAN network and the LAN. So on the WAN side, which is sort of the connection to the internet, this particular device is configured to have Ethernet as priority 1, and it's established, and then it's configured to have 4G LTE, the cellular connection, as priority 2. By default, it'll be shipped with the 4G LTE as the only WAN, and that will be priority 1. And if you need more information about setting up this sort of multiple WAN configuration, you can refer to the user's guide on how to configure that using the local web application. And then on the next section here, the LAN, the local area network, it's showing the Wi-Fi as the interface, and that's also established. So now scrolling down a bit more, you can see under the clients section that we do have a wireless client connected over Wi-Fi, WLAN 0, and it's also showing the IP address of the device and the MAC address, and also showing the strength of the Wi-Fi signal. And then if you had any devices connected to the Ethernet interface, and if that was configured as LAN, then those would show up here under the wired clients section. All right, moving along to the next section is the cellular tab. This is the place where you can monitor your cellular connection and track your data usage. So let's just go right down the line here. The cell state, it shows as established, and the connection is online, and it also shows the last time that the device checked in to the RMP's cloud server. And normally it checks in about every 15 minutes. Under signal strength, since this one was configured for Ethernet as the primary WAN, it's not showing any signal strength at all. But we can get a look at the more detailed cell strength, and this will be the last values that were sent. And here it's showing the RSRP, RSRQ, and SINR. Those are some more detailed and advanced values, but they can be very helpful for the support team in diagnosing any signal strength issues. So you'll want to let them know about that. They're also color coded, so if it's green, that means it's in the really good range. Yellow is more in the middle. Orange, I think, is a little worse, and then if it's red, that might mean that it's in the poor or cell edge range, and so that might be impacting your signal quality in ways like impacting your speed or causing packet loss. All right, moving right along. The next line here is the data usage for the billing cycle. So this one is showing that it's used 120 megabytes during the current billing cycle, and that value will reset, I think, at the end of the billing cycle, which I believe is on the 24th of the month. That'll bring it back down to 0. The next section is the IP address. If you do have a public static IP system, you could use that IP address to reach the local configuration webpage, and also support can use that to provide remote support to your device. Otherwise, if it's a public dynamic system, we won't be able to reach that directly, but it will still display its IP address. And then finally, there's a field here for cellular activation state. Normally when we ship it to you, this field will be populated with activated, and if you modify this, then that will sort of send a message to the cellular company that you want that to be deactivated or suspended. And so I'd recommend not changing that field unless you really know what you're doing. Finally, the historical data use graph is here at the bottom, and you can track how much data usage your system has used over time. So for a very detailed view, you could look over the course of a day. And so like here it's showing it used 117 megabytes at 1:16 p.m. on August 15th. And then you can sort of scroll all the way through until the last time it reported 120 megabytes on August 16th at 2:26 p.m. And then you can also kind of zoom out and see the view over a week or a month or even a whole year. And so this one is showing all the various billing cycles. Here the billing cycle ends, it drops to 0, and it's at a pretty low amount until here there's a large spike in data usage, and that could indicate that, for example, if your system was being used as failover, that suddenly your primary went down and all the traffic is being used by the cellular data through the Intwine router. And that'll just show you that. Okay, and then finally, if you want to get even more detailed look at these values, you can click this download button here in the lower left corner, and that will download a CSV file with the timestamps and the megabyte values that you can do analysis on or send to the support team. All right, the next tab here, tools. These are ways that you can interact with the 4GR device remotely. The first one is firmware update now button. So if you're running an older version of the firmware, let's say if the current version is 1.7.10 and you're at 1.7.6, support might advise you to click that update now button. Then your system will reach out to the servers, download the latest version of firmware, and then reboot your device. And then it will rewrite the firmware and then come up automatically. But you'll just want to make sure that you only do that when maybe in off hours when your network is not using the Intwine Connect device. The next tool that you can use is the ping test. The ping test will send a ping, and then it'll show up here in this little console window. And it can be useful to ping a local device on the network, or you can sometimes even use it to diagnose DNS issues. For example, pinging google.com versus pinging 8.8.8.8. I think it's the right 8s. So that can be a useful tool. And then the next thing here is the LED test. You can tell the lights to blink red, go back to normal after you've made them blink red, or turn off altogether. And that can sometimes be useful if you have a whole row of gateways and you need to distinguish which one you're looking at here in the portal. This final tool here is the reboot button, and you can send a command to reboot the gateway right now. So it'll ask the device to reboot, and then it will immediately turn off and then turn itself back on and try to reconnect to the network. Finally, the notifications tab, and this is how you can really track how data is being used and alert yourself when something is out of the ordinary. So the first line here is this offline notification, and so to turn it on, you would click this button here. And so all that will do is whenever the gateway doesn't check in with the RMP for a certain amount of time, then it will send you an email saying that it thinks the device is offline. And then once the device reconnects and sends another message to the RMP, then it will send you an alert saying that the device has come back online. So that can be useful if you really need to know if all your gateways are connected and working correctly. This next type of notification is the failover notification. You'll want to use that if you're using the gateway as a secondary connection. So you would have your dual WAN router with rules, and so normally it's using the primary WAN, and then if that goes down, you'll switch to use the Intwine router as your connection. And so the way that works behind the scenes is we are generating a baseline amount of usage, and then if that were to spike up to a much higher usage amount, you would get an alert saying that the Intwine is being used as your primary internet, and you'll want to check and make sure that what's normally your primary is going to come back online. So probably reach out to your ISP or to just reboot your cable modem, something like that. This next type of notification is a data notification, and so that's how you can set a threshold of megabytes of data used, and then you'll receive an alert once the usage goes over that level for the billing cycle. So let's say, and the way to generate more of those is to click on this bell icon with a plus sign, like so, and then let's say if you had a 1 gigabyte plan, maybe you would set this to 950 megabytes and then save it. And so then you would receive an email alert if you're approaching the limit of your plan. And then maybe you can take some steps to see what's generating most of the traffic on your network, something of that nature. All right, and obviously, as you can see here, I've set up a couple of those, so you can set up different levels. So maybe you'd want to do one for 5 gigs, which is a pretty common place that we put ours. And then here at the bottom, we also list a notification history. So this is indicating that after I created this 54 megabyte data notification alert, that it exceeded that on August 8th, and then it's logged here. And I also received an email. Finally, you can click on this Manage Email List button, and this will show you all the different email addresses that are going to be sent an alert anytime those notifications are sent out. So by default, the email that you created the account with is in this list, and you can also add new email addresses here to add to that list, and you can delete them as needed. And then the last thing that I'd like to talk about, or before the last thing, I want to go back to that Gateways page here, and we'll go to the Cleveland office one, and just for your own knowledge, to delete a gateway, you'll want to click on these 3 dots in the upper right hand corner, and that'll bring up the delete device interface here. And after you delete it, you can add it back again without any issue, but just in case you need to, that's how you do it. Moving over to account settings, here you can enter in all your profile information. Some of that is brought in from when you create the account, but you would add in your address and some other information here. The most important bit would be this time zone that you'd want to select the one closest to your location, because that's how the alerts will come out and be formatted based on this time zone field. All right, and I think that's it for today. Just going over the basic RMP usage. Make sure to tune in later for some more videos that we'll have coming out. We'll go into some more detail on some more advanced aspects of the RMP, including my groups, my devices, and users. Thanks so much for being a customer and for listening to the presentation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.